How are ya, boys? How's everybody doing? Welcome to episode Zcash number 19 of Barstool Bitcoin. Right now, say hello to producer Kraser. How are ya?
How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 19. Just climbing up on the scale here, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on listening because we got some good stuff coming for you.
Yeah, so last week, the market's been pretty stable. Again, another week of that. Where are we at with the picks, Kraser?
Well, last week I chose the even, you chose the over. Slightly over, by the slightest of margins. So, you know what, then, since I'm a nice guy, I'll give you the W. And since you got the W, I'm going to allow you to make the prediction first this week. So what do you got for us, Dan?
Well, yeah, Bitcoin's moving sideways still, so it's pretty much even, like you said. We're getting to the end of this descending triangle. It's been a while that we've been pushing through to the end of the triangle here. Realistically, it could definitely break up or down. It's pretty much a coin flip, but I am gonna take the over. We just saw a nice dump and we're near the range low here, so I'm looking to check out the daily close, and we're trading within the lower 50% of the range once again. So a break above the equilibrium could signal a bit of a bullish move, but watching it closely, I'm gonna take the over this week. We've spent more than 27 days in the same range here, so I'll take the over.
Back-to-back overs for Dan. Dan, the optimistic person. Love it. Well, you know what, Dan? I'm going to head with the even again. I really don't think it's going to move much this week, but I do hope that it will move up soon. But I think this week we're going to stick at even here. So that's my pick. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, we're hoping to see some volatility moving forward, but let's dive right in. We have a pretty packed episode for you guys today. We have an interview later. We interviewed Erik Vaughn. It was pretty decent. Kraser, you didn't get a chance to be there, so you can enjoy that too. But it was a great interview, and Erik has more than 30 years of experience in trading all different products, futures, and now he's one of the owners of Smart Options. So we'll get to that interview in just a moment, but first, the blockchain.com wallet has just added Stellar, and they announced a $125 million Stellar airdrop that they're using to drive adoption. Blockchain wallet's pretty popular, and they're making this is supposed to be the largest airdrop in the history of crypto, and it could be the largest giveaway ever, in crypto history. So if you're not using the blockchain wallet, it's a pretty good phone wallet. It's not super secure, but just for like everyday things, or quick use, it is pretty simple, and the UI is pretty good.
Do you maybe want to tell our listeners who don't know how to set that up, where to go for that?
Oh, it's pretty easy. You just hop into the App Store, download Blockchain Wallet, and you'll see they accept Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and now Stellar, and they might accept Litecoin. I'm not sure if they do, or maybe it's just Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum, and now Stellar. So it's a good chance to get some free XLM tokens. Free is free.
So would you be saying that this blockchain wallet is a potential stellar growth coming up? Anyways, that was my one joke of the day, boys. If you don't like it, well, too bad.
Yeah,
that's all I got for you.
Well,
anyways, Dan, what's going on in the news here? Let's tackle that and inform our listeners.
There's a couple more headliners here. The SEC just charged and fined the EtherDelta Founder with operating an unregistered securities exchange. And EtherDelta is a big marketplace for ERC20 tokens, settled in Ethereum, and they did do a lot of trading last year in 2017 and at the beginning of this year, but over an 18-month operating period, EtherDelta's users put in more than 3.6 million orders for tokens, including some that were considered as securities by U.S. federal laws. And then they didn't the founder didn't confirm or deny the findings that they had essentially traded unlawfully, but he did agree to pay $300K in fine, I guess that was, and then he also paid a pretty large penalty, a 6-figure penalty as well. So it would have been a lot worse for him, I think. I mean, the SEC reported that they would have made it worse if he wouldn't have paid the fine and would have fought them. So he didn't. He gave in and he got out onto the other side. But that was a pretty big fine in the crypto space. I think we're going to see more and more of that happen, especially because like a lot of these laws came into play while these exchanges were already operating.
Yeah, so it's basically almost like they're all operating in like a gray zone. But it seems here that the founder, by paying that, it's almost somewhat like an admission of guilt, I would say. Well, but you're right. That's probably the right move for him. So
yeah, it definitely is an admission of guilt because he's not fighting them. So that's that. I'm sure they are well aware of it, for months prior, and they were just kind of waiting for the sanctions to be sent down. But in other news, Square, the huge payment processing company, their Bitcoin revenue went up $6 million in Q3 alone, and more than $500K in profits. Just from Bitcoin, they generated $43 million in Bitcoin revenue in just Q3, which is pretty good. Square is a pretty big processing company. I'd say Square, Stripe, and PayPal are probably the top three. And their total net revenue was $882 million in Q3, which means they basically upped their revenue by 51%, including that Bitcoin, the $43 million of Bitcoin revenue, year over year. So the statistics are starting to come down from some of these big companies that are pretty deep into crypto and delving deeper. There's some exchanges that the volume's down, but that's to be expected right now. The volatility is down across the whole market, so trading would only go down. That makes sense.
What about, so with Square, like I understand like you can, like how you can pay with your cards and all that kind of stuff, but how does it work like through the Bitcoin with Square? Do you know how exactly how it works, or this is just like a straight up question for myself and possibly the users?
I've never used it as a merchant, but I'm assuming that you can. I don't use Square, but I'm assuming that you can just choose to charge your clients and accept Bitcoin. I'm not sure if they convert it to fiat when they pay out the merchants. That Square would convert the Bitcoin accepted into fiat and pay out the merchant all in one batch, or if they pay them out that segment in Bitcoin. But it basically just allows consumers to pay in Bitcoin and merchants to accept Bitcoin from their customers, clients.
And you know what's really cool about that is Square is really good for like people who are starting maybe a small business or anything like that. And knowing the fact that you can take payments in Bitcoin and stuff like that, it really kind of gives you an advantage because you have multiple different platforms to use. So any of you as small business users out there or people who are thinking of starting business and looking to get paid in Bitcoin, you can, and it's actually really simple. So that's good to hear.
It's a good time to accept Bitcoin right now, especially in all accumulation phases. A good time to accept Bitcoin, and we go deeper into that on the interview. But before we segue into that interview with Erik, the last story I want to go over here is this kind of nightmare that as a listener, you should be thinking about this, especially if you're American. There's a student who put in 5K in Ethereum, and the long and short of it is he now owes 400K in taxes to the IRS, but he never cashed out any of the actual crypto. So he put in that 5K into Ethereum when Ethereum was at $50. Then we all know what happened. The price skyrocketed like over $1,000. At its peak, it was over $1,200. Then it came down quite a bit, but he, you know, when it went up to $1,200, he put in some of his Ethereum into different ICOs, and you know, so he made like a 25x on his Ether. But then with the other digital assets he bought through ICOs, his portfolio went up to 880K, and these were all taxable transactions according to the IRS. And then, you know, the market corrected and came back down, and his portfolio went from 880K to 125K, and he now owes 400K in back taxes, which is more than his entire portfolio, because he wasn't aware of the tax liability that he faced. And he since hired somebody to go through it, and I'm not sure how they'll resolve the conflict with the IRS. The Internal Revenue System's pretty strict, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you're on Coinbase does declare these transactions to the US government using a form called 1099K. All these major exchanges have tax filing systems in place to automate it, and you need to be aware of what you're doing and which actions are taxable. So if you're not yet privy to these laws, like many of us are, or if you have, you know, potentially a situation similar on your hands, then I would advise you to find a really good accountant who possibly, if possible, specializes in cryptocurrency to get some kind of tax clarification, because it's such an early stage for this asset class. You really need to be prepared for these unexpected situations and prevent yourself and insulate yourself as much as possible from taxes, you know, moving forward through the years.
Imagine though, like, imagine all seriousness, you wake up, you're like, yeah, sick, I made like all these fucking smart investments, and all of a sudden, boom, the IRS hits you with the 400K fucking tax. Like, nobody wants to have that, boys. So like Dan said, do your due diligence, get a good accountant. Even if you need to pay them, you're not going to pay your accountant $400,000. So make sure you get your ducks in a row here and set yourself up for success, because this can happen to anyone. And like you said, it's a little bit of a gray zone now. So make sure you do your research and you know what the fuck you're doing, or else you can end up thinking you made a great investment and then be in the hole. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah,
you don't want to just head over to your local H&R Block, you know, and spend like $49 or whatever to do your taxes. That's a really bad situation for you, and could potentially get increasingly worse if it goes on for years, and then the IRS chooses to back tax you for whatever reason. So if you're a US resident citizen, then I would suggest finding yourself a professional who can add some clarification to which events are taxable according to your situation, and you'll be in a lot better position if you could calculate your gains and losses and file taxes properly than you will be otherwise if you just kind of ignore it and delay it, and then one day, you know, the fucking IRS doesn't sleep on that. They're gonna come and they will collect what's owed to them according to the letter of the law. So it's just smart to be prepared.
And they will fucking find you and hunt you down too. So there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. Basically, you got to be your own best friend in this situation. Set yourself up for success.
Yeah, this is the, you know, arguably the biggest wealth transfer in the history of society. It could be, and this is where a lot of the wealth goes from the old to the young, to the large high net worth individuals who are early adopters, who see the potential and can adopt to technology. And you want to take full advantage of this. And a large part of that is insulating yourself from income tax. So make sure you don't have to play this recovery game, and that you're, ready to, you have your strategy set, and you've been properly advised moving into the future.
I agree with you 100%. And there's also another story out there. You want to get into this one? Anyone familiar with good old rapper T.I.? You know that guy?
Yeah, T.I.
Heard of that guy? What happened to the old T.I. rap show here?
Rap show. Well, he got sued for $5 million after his token allegedly failed. I didn't even know he had a token, but I just saw this recently, and I mean, there is a group of 25 people who claim that they put in 1.3 million, and now his tokens are worthless, and it was him and his business partner who promoted it. So they're basically saying that T.I. and his business partner defrauded them by using the money that they raised to drive the tokens price up, and then when the prices fell down, they just dumped all their tokens and moved away from the project. So I think that was all too common in the space, and T.I. was just like a big name who got caught actively supporting a coin, and who knows what the real story is there, what his association was with the company. But he's just a big headliner that'll draw in eyeballs for these news sites.
Well, I can tell you one thing. He's definitely not going to rap his way out of this one, boys. So.
No, I don't think so. He's gonna have to lawyer up, and I'm sure he'll get out of this one. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure he has enough money to take care of this. You're right. So he'll figure it out.
Yeah, but everything's pretty red today on the charts, boys. A little slight correction from the last couple days. Ripple moved quite a bit, BCH moved quite a bit, and then they both corrected back down. So without further ado, let's bring it to the interview we did with Erik Vaughn. Hope you enjoy it. We are live. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I want to welcome today to the show Erik Vaughn. Erik is an engineer with a background in mathematics. He lives not far from Charlie Shrem in Margaritaville, Florida. Most of his career, he worked with Apple and then Samsung, Microsoft, Dell, along with other Fortune 500 companies as a tech engineer. He's been a trader for more than 30 years, since the beginning of the internet pretty much, when his grandmother gave him his first stock at the tender age of just 8 years old. He then became fascinated by the charts and maintains that trading signals in all markets is either based on TA or hit the highway. He's traded more Six Sigma events than he would care to admit, and not only survived through it all, but has remained profitable throughout his career. Erik is one of the owners of smartoptions.io and loves everything crypto, blockchain related. He sees the future in digital currencies as an evolution that will shape all of our lives for the better, which we'll dive into more in just a minute. But first, thanks for joining us today, Erik. Where are you calling in from?
Thank you. I'm from, the easiest place, Sarasota, Florida. It's right below Tampa. It's kind of like the West Palm Beach of west coast of Florida.
Got it. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. How did you first get involved into crypto?
Actually, funny enough, I was working for Apple, and we, as engineers in tech, we were always looking and seeing the newest stuff that's coming out. Back then, if you remember PGP,
yep,
pretty good privacy. I've always followed the programming and technical aspects of it. So Bitcoin came up very quick with their white paper. As soon as they did the white paper back in, October of 2009, that sparked every engineer's fascination. So anybody in the engineering or real techie-oriented, nerdy people found this absolutely brilliant. Of course, there was an extreme drawback with Bitcoin, as been the case for a long time, is you couldn't buy it. I mean, it's really nice that, but to get a hold of it, there were no exchanges. There was no real means of transacting anything in it, but it seemed like a fantastic idea. So that was my first introduction, just from reading the white paper and whatnot, but I didn't think much of it until much later on.
Was that a big thing amongst all of the people you worked with, your coworkers at Apple? Was everyone was talking about Bitcoin at that point?
Yeah. Funny enough, the corporate and the people with money, they love to look at charts and to read Forbes and investing and Investors Business Daily. We all fit in kind of this category where we're fascinated with not only new tech, but trading, and so forth. So Bitcoin fit as a currency or a means of transaction, store of value, any number of things that was completely outside of the system. So we automatically pick up on that. We're early adopters because of the fact that we're engineers.
Right. And did you start trading right from the jump, or did you take a little while to get to know the market first and read the charts?
I came back to Bitcoin in 2013 after, this is again, just looking at it, just watching its progression as a neat thing, not something I would really, try to do because I couldn't find any way to buy it. And again, I couldn't find any exchange, or the exchanges that I found, I thought to myself, I'm going to lose all my money. I put any money with these guys, they're going to take off.
Yeah.
There's much risk. And, so I didn't think any further until later in 2016, where, I was being screamed at by friends in the fintech space. These are ex-Goldman Sachs and people that I would listen to, but we discussed currencies, like the euro and stuff like that. But they were all about the coins. And I finally got my first exchange, which was Kraken. I thought they were secure enough, good enough to actually do a transaction with. So that's when I started buying coins, and I started with Black Coin because I liked the name and, their concept. So it was all conceptual in value. Not much to it. I only put in a few $1,000s, and then I got screamed at, oh, buy Ethereum. This is the next big thing. And this is back in 2016. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll buy 11 to 14, no problem. And I bought it and didn't think much of it. And, I just left it there in the account. Well, as you know, the time progressed, and it was the summer of 2017. And I've watched it periodically because of the rise from 11 to 14 was exponential. Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember that move, but
I do very well, yes.
And it wasn't enough money for me to really go nuts about, but then came the summer, and I saw the patterns that correlated to everything else, and it was because of the extreme amount of interest in it. It just automatically grabbed my attention then. But I honestly did not really pay attention to it to any real degree until 2016 and on from there.
Mm-hmm. So that's when you started trading, but you've been a trader for more than 30 years, right?
Yeah, no, I've traded stocks, the original options when Forex first came out. Mm-hmm. God, that's a long time ago. But anyway.
You're dating yourself.
Exactly. I'm doing that. That's fine. But all the events there and of, I mean, if you remember 9/11, I was trading then. I was watching the planes crash into the buildings and think to myself, at first, it looked like it was just a passenger plane. And then the second one, and then everybody freaked out. But I was busy working. I was actually trading then. And I didn't just, I cleaned up that day. It was ridiculous. And I was doing nothing but trading patterns. A pattern that would take months to resolve itself was happening in less than a minute.
Wow.
Changes were crazy. But, again, that happened back in 2011.
11, yeah.
and the same type of event. But technical analysis is the way to just the supply and demand of the marketplace. Right. So that's generally what I follow. Hence why you have smart options.
Mm-hmm. So you guys have been in the space for a little while. You've reviewed a lot of the signal trading platforms out there. What is the common thread that you see amongst all the successful signal platforms aside from TA?
They have a comprehensive picture. They put things together and they make it easily digestible for their members. That's the most common thread. Mm-hmm. Each of them are going to be a little bit different, offering different things. Some are more feature rich, where some are just purely signals and minimal at best. But their common is they all have a very cohesive and they're pretty professional. I'm surprised at the quality that I come across on the signals. But that's not always the case, of course. Right. We totally the scammers in the space, because there's money that people are dealing with, are everywhere. So that part is difficult. But if you find the right people that deserve to be promoted, and they give quality signals and they're stable and they're going to be there tomorrow, then we came up with that idea. And what a great way to profit off of the quality and work of others.
Definitely, especially in an accumulation phase like we're in right now.
Well, yeah, all bear markets are accumulation phases.
Right. Well, I would argue that we're not technically in a bear market, but I think that a lot of people are calling this the bear market, although
it's a retracement.
Yeah, it's a retracement, exactly.
Exactly. I agree with you completely. I don't view bear. People like to call it animal patterns and names. Mm-hmm. Just like some of the patterns that I use, I call them sea monsters. Others could call them crabs and butterflies and whatnot. I call them sea monsters, because of the way they move on average. It's just an M or W. It's not very complicated, and there's certain ratios that you follow along with them. But, that's my TA mentality right there.
Right. Now, a lot of our listeners are traders. They've stuck with us through this sideways market. And considering you have a wealth of experience, what's the biggest problem that you see facing crypto traders right now?
Problems that they face are usually themselves. I read through your questions, by the way. I'm not. Are you going to go through the list of them and so forth? Because I'm thinking of this in steps.
I'm just kind of freestyling here. So.
Okay, you just freestyle. So I'll just have to. It's usually themselves and the lack of education and knowledge. Trading is the easiest hard thing you can do. If you, because if you think about it, if they don't have the the ability to have the experience of knowing how markets move on average, they have a tendency to become very emotional. Like, oh my God, you don't have to say anything in the crypto space because that's the majority of everybody. And it creates this herd, every time there's a news event, there's these big moves, and it makes it's very random in nature. And because of this randomness and people acting in an emotional fashion, they hurt themselves. Once they go on BitMEX and they use too much leverage, they blow their accounts. End of story. They can do this across the board on any number of platforms that offer this, and they wipe themselves off the map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's mostly dealing with your own emotions through the market swings.
Yeah, because of the fact that they're inexperienced, and trading is very easy to do, right? It's you click a few buttons, you become rich.
Yeah.
So the problem is that mentality. Moon, Lambo, get rich quick. But you can't change that. That's human nature. Everybody goes over and tells me what an effect BitConnect had on the crypto marketplace because of the degenerate gambler psychology It just grabs everybody's attention, and they're absolutely right. Problem is, that's not what crypto is about. That's just a Ponzi scheme. It should have been shut down like right away. I find the government getting involved when there's crap like that out there, because that actually hurts the space. And that might have exacerbated the up move, but it also exacerbated the retracement.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that kind of gave a bad name to a lot of the industry. It pushed back the reputation of digital currencies back into the whole, only scammers use this on the dark web type thing. And while there are many scams in crypto, I think the vast majority of it is legitimate, and a lot of people fail to realize that, and that's what's keeping a lot of people on the outside looking in at the technology, is because, well, it's pretty clunky. It's still, like you mentioned earlier, not as easy as we would like for, let's say my grandmother or your grandmother to enter the market. But
yes, there's no way.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's also a lot of scammers out there using this rise to their advantage. So it's important, and we like to educate our listeners on sifting out the different scams and avoiding them and doing business with legitimate people.
Absolutely right. Can I make an interject there?
Definitely.
You make a good point about scammers and so forth. But the education factor, and here's the biggest thing. It's a kind of counterintuitive thinking. These scammers come up because they offer an easy message, right? So their optics are focused directly on, making big returns in money and whatnot. That grabs the psychology and the activates people and gets them all into it. So the ironic thing is they bring, a lot of things to the table with excitement and whatnot. And not all projects are scams. That is true. And we can go to the ICO space, which is so difficult to figure out who's legit or not, but that comes from their results over time. And I won't even get into that because that's a whole different show right there. But the scammers in the space added a lot of excitement with their Ponzi schemes and their complete crap. But the real technology, everything behind crypto, will stand on its own and be here long after they're gone. It's just that we need more regulation and a way to protect people. And if you educate, like you just stated, education is your best defense against them. But I don't want to do a negative message because that makes it difficult. Nobody likes a negative message, and they generally will not listen to it. That's another reason that scammers do so well, is because they have a very positive message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I wholeheartedly agree. And while it's not easy to keep the attention span of people who are listening in while you're talking about avoiding scammers, it is just the reality of the marketplace. And like you said, education is the big key to avoiding that in the long term, because it's not going to go away. I mean, there's still people
it's money.
Yeah,
anywhere
exactly.
you find scammers. That's life.
Well, you've seen different market conditions, you've seen different ICOs and the industry develop over time. What would you say is one thing that is true that almost nobody else in the space agrees with you on?
All right. Well, this is one that's a tough one. Because I think to myself, what is it? The stable coins are the one thing that pops out in my mind. To me, stable coins are a con game. I don't know why anybody would want these things. Originally, if I look at it and I think about it, Bitfinex came up with Tether, right? Mm-hmm. You know why they came up with Tether?
To boost their valuation.
And not just that. They had lost, what was it, 70 million?
Right.
they at the time and so forth. And hey, what a convenient tool. Let's go over and create a stable coin of which will abscond from having to deal with fiat and whatnot and give people, something they could peg it to a dollar with. And guess what? That totally erased that negative 70 mil from their cap, and they just kept on going. And it grew. I don't think they even thought that this would turn into what it did, but it did, because it gave people the ability to trade the dollar without actually trading the dollar, because no bank wanted to touch any crypto exchange, and so forth. So you're not able to really, transact in dollars, which is the perfect mechanism. Crypto cross a dollar. Most people disagree, and they should be all Bitcoin and crypto. But when you do that, you have a compounded effect of the value of your cryptocurrency.
Right, whether up or down.
Up or down, exactly. So that it can be a very negative thing. If you cross it against fiat, it's more of a balancing. But I believe in Coinbase Pro, and all other exchanges are crap in my opinion compared to them, because they act like a professional, firm. And I don't even have an affiliate link to promote them, so isn't that terrible? But they transact in fiat, and that's the future in my opinion, as well as their security and their ability to have insurance as well as custodial service.
Yeah, we talk a lot about both Coinbase and USDT. It seems in the last couple of weeks, we had a pretty long segment last week on Coinbase, and like you said, it is a shame that we don't have an affiliate link here, but the fact of the matter is that they are...
I mean, you guys do that too. You do the whole, that's what most sites are run off of. No, am I...
Right.
Because I'm a trader, really. The other part is mostly my partner and so forth. He's the pro at all that. Every site has these affiliate links, and if we have a product that we believe in, whether it's a signal provider or exchange, we generally promote them. And right. Coinbase Pro, they really don't pay very well, so. But I promote them just because of the fact that
it adds value to the listeners.
Exactly. There you go. It's something that people can actually use. I mean, do you use Coinbase Pro yourself, or?
Personally, I don't. I'm not American, but I would.
Binance.
Yeah, I use Binance, and I have a Coinbase account. Mostly, I do use Binance, but I have yet to really use Coinbase, but I have a lot of American friends, and it seems like they are
the best. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
So I thought they were available up there, but
they are. Yeah, they are. But the big exchange in Canada is called Quadriga CX, and they're pretty good too. They're fairly secure. I don't think they've been hacked, not that I've heard of. And
it's generally only the Asian exchanges that have been hacked, and there's a reason. Right. Most, in my opinion, inside jobs. But okay.
Yeah. We won't delve too far into that. But like I said, Coinbase is great. USDT is a huge scam. We talk about that all the time. We're very vocal about how we feel about USDT. It seems like you share the same sentiment.
Crashes. It's fantastic until it crashes.
Right.
But anything where that the Brock Pierce and that whole group is going to be trouble, in my opinion. So we'll see. That's why I like the Coinbase Pro, because it's really crossed the dollar, and that's important to me. Even if we've only had a few choices, they are expanding on that. For my own trading and so forth, I want to feel secure. I want an exchange account for crypto that is as valuable and trustworthy as interactive brokers.
Right.
Stocks and so forth.
Yeah, cash settlement is very important. Now, looking forward to the future, what do you see that in the next 12 months that's got you really excited here in crypto?
That's a funny thing. Not much with all the FUD that we get all the time. It's pretty depressing out there, but no. In my opinion, you have two different areas. One of which I don't necessarily think is a good thing, but it harkens back to the granular effects that BitConnect has left on us, and they have left an effect, and that's the dApps. If you've noticed the dApps from either Ethereum or EOS or Tron, and that structure right there is going to lead to a lot of a gambling type of betverse, and like one of the companies out there where people are going to be able to gamble very easily with their crypto, and people love to gamble. If you look at the BitConnect or that, what is that, FOMO 3D, complete crap, Ponzi schemes, but the degenerate get rich quick and that type of psychology exists, and people like it. People like to gamble. So those dApps are going to, for the gambling mixture, are going to probably do very well. And then the second one are masternodes. And masternodes are brilliant because they basically take, instead of doing the Bitcoin proof of work, they're proof of stake, which basically you pay so much to own a node, and you manage this node to go over and transact values and so forth, and you get paid for doing that. Compared to the mining that they get paid for on the Bitcoin side. So I think these coins are going to generate really nice income over time. Right now, Ethereum has been, with all the ICOs and all that scams and crap in there, has been really crushed. And they deserve to be. And that brought the valuations way down. So right now, the whole masternode space is really attractive. And I think in the future, people are going to see the value of that, and they're going to be all over it. So I think you'll have exponential increases. Like, what was one? ALQO. If you look on our website, that's one that we follow because it has a lot of positive momentum, I guess you can say, especially trading wise.
Yeah, we're big fans of masternodes. We actually do, on top of trading signals, we do masternode pooling.
Oh, you do? Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So are you running any masternodes right now?
Well, just that ALQO. I'm not one to, I'm a purely, if I could, I would just trade Bitcoin alone, and I'd do it all day. And I've got things working in the fund management side in the future and so forth. That's going to be, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist as far as trading goes. The other projects have become a risk basis of which you have to measure things out for the future, like XRP, which I believe in wholeheartedly, believe it or not, bankers coin and whatnot. You can say whatever you want. The problem is that XRP and their foundation is run so professionally. They're going to do very well in the future. And, they're going to, one of the biggest problems that crypto has is you get these very enthusiastic people that have no business background, like the Reggie Middletons, great marketers, but they don't have a business background. Institutional traders and investors are going to basically not pay any attention to them. The ones they're going to pay attention to are the ones that you don't see. They're not on YouTube, and they're not going to be in the general space. They're going to be accountants behind the scenes,
right?
And be buying Bitcoin in large sums and just holding on to it and waiting. And their plans are 5 to 10 years out. They're not this goldfish mentality where they're flipping things and trying to trade every little move.
Yeah, I think Ripple is a double-edged sword in some ways. Like, it is it moves very quickly, and they have such a big supply, and it is controlled at the end of the day by the banks. But while you brought up a really good point that it is run properly and they have a solid team and they're looking long term.
You get the fact that is what attracts money.
Right.
Nobody's going to want to invest 100 million or whatever a fund and so forth with people that look like they wouldn't allow them to wash their car. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I look at a lot of these people from the crypto space, and I just like the Las Vegas show and so forth. And when most of the guys are wearing their sunglasses inside, and you're thinking to yourself, "Holy crap!" In the backward hat and all of this, with their T-shirts on, they look like they're just getting ready to go work out or something. It doesn't look very professional, and it's kind of I'm thinking to myself, okay, so a fund manager is going to walk into this conference and take one look, and he's going to turn around and walk right out. It's just, if you know bankers, I come from a family of them, so there's just no way.
Yeah, I definitely think that a lot of fund managers value professionalism above all else.
Well, you need that to start with. You can't,
it's a
can't walk
prerequisite
without having shoes on or something like that. Yeah, so exactly.
Right. Well, we like to do a lot of predictions on this show. Every week we predict the price of Bitcoin for the next week. But my prediction question for you is a little bit different. What are you thinking for price prediction for Bitcoin in both the short term and the long term?
Bitcoin, as far as the short term goes, we've been sideways for what has it been, about a month now? I guess would you say that that's about
I think
right?
it's a little longer than a month, actually. But yeah, it's about right.
I'm falling
Ballpark.
asleep on it the whole time, so
Yeah.
it's not. It's coming to an end. It's held its support levels. I have actually charts I can show you, but can't do that. We're on a podcast. Of where in the low 6,000 range, around 6,200, if we drew a line, we could average out the price in time. It's held this support level, and it's basing. And if we draw a trend line going down from the tops previously, we first had that spike with the tether, manipulation, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure they made a lot of money, the issuer, Bitfinex, by selling whatever they were able to buy in 102, and then sell in 102 and buy back at 96 and under, the bastards. But anyway, the chart, we've been in that long descending and that big triangle for a long time.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of institutional buys, and I could see this. As somebody who's done this a very long time, I see the large buying patterns. It's basically, you'll see these big spikes up, and they happen within an hour period of time. And the reason why is because they're buying everything between those levels. And, so they're buying the whole 6,000 range. And they don't care about price. Bitcoin can do some kind of emotional news or something and drop all the way down to 3,000. They'll be buying there too. They're not price conscious. Once that supply is gone and you get the move up and you break out to the upside, there's no way to tell where this is really going to go. I'm thinking, because of the history of Bitcoin, just going through the charts, the highs and so forth, they're going to be obliterated. So that 20K is going to go out the door. And will it do it next year or 2020? We'll see. The crypto market's so crazy. It's the most emotional, raw type of trading I've ever seen, just outside of the beginning of Forex trading, when it became available to the retail investors.
So you think we're going to break out of this descending triangle to the upside, and that we've found the bottom here at 6K?
Yeah, we could break out to here's the thing. I don't do predictions so much, because I do plans. Okay, everything to me is about observing the marketplace, finding a pattern structure, and creating a good plan off of that. And then from there, you basically, for me, I'm buy side. I have no choice but to buy all the dips and sell it when it's overbought, buy it back, and rinse and repeat. So that's all I'm going to be, I'm buy side. So if we move back down, great. A descending triangle is not a certainty that you're going to break out to the upside. What can happen on a descending triangle a good percentage of time is you get a spike up. Say we go up to 8,000, maybe even 11,000, and then crash all the way down below the lows. And that's a scenario, and that can take us back under the 5,000, 3,000 range. And there's many instances in Bitcoin's history of which it had 90% plus drops.
Right.
That's just a fact. It's just, that's in the charts. So we have to go over and say, his things in history tend to repeat, so for its nature, there's a good possibility of that. But this time it's different. The problem is fundamentally, these institutions are buying. So there might not be the ability for Bitcoin to really drop, and it can just go up and then continue to break the levels. And what people understand, and I want to make this a very clear point, once that supply is gone, there's only, 21 million coins?
Yeah, without counting what's been lost, I guess, which is like another million or two.
Yeah, exactly. A few million right there is what's estimated. But once that goes, that supply goes, and these people are looking at 5-10 years out, they're not going to allow that supply to really, unless it gets to ridiculous numbers like 1 million. So McAfee doesn't have to eat his dick. Once it gets there, then they might start selling. But, what I'm basically saying is it's going to have an exponential move upward at some point. And the big money that's in it are real hodlers. They're not the people who are wearing the caps. And, as soon as Bitcoin goes to 20K, they're going to be out of it like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So long-term bullish is.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's the future. Bitcoin, store of value digitally, it's the future. And, that's just my simple belief on that, because that's evolution, in my opinion.
Now, I think I know what you're going to say here, but Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. Do you believe in Roger Ver?
Oh, my God. What a question. You have it right there, Nina. Number one. Well, here, let me put it this way. Bitcoin, the first rule of the crypto club is Bitcoin's number one. Okay. The second rule of the crypto club is Bitcoin is number one. Okay. And that's basically it. The clearest argument you have is what you just stated right there, Roger Ver. But, he is what makes Bitcoin Cash. He is the most tenacious marketer I have ever seen in my life. I'm surprised I don't see infomercials late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. He's the number one reason that Bitcoin actually does as well as it does. And
Did you call it Bitcoin?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I like that.
It is
casual.
He's always around bitching about and
he is.
He's the most criminally minded person I've ever seen. He's the anarchist, terrorist financier who weaponizes money with his friend Jian Wu, and it's hilarious because the mining activity he did back in December. I was watching the price action and his algorithms, the use that they did, him and Gian and so forth, and it was pre-planned. They announced it, and it happened on the exact day. I was like, wow. If this kind of shit happened in the United States with any other type of asset, these guys would be in prison. Mm-hmm. Luckily, they're over in Asia, hiding out and hoping nobody notices. But you look at that, but that's the only reason Bitcoin Cash has done so well is because of Roger Ver. He's an amazing, I don't know what the, marketer slash.
Yeah, he's a relentless marketer. I like to call him the Donald Trump of crypto, just because he's really good at stirring the pot, creating controversy, and getting his name and which is pretty much synonymous with Bitcoin Cash out there.
Isn't that amazing how he does that?
Yeah,
it's over, and you would never think about it, but he is always placing Bitcoin Cash. Oh, by the way, Bitcoin Cash. But you're absolutely right. He's a polarizing figure, and he creates that distorted reality.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs, one of the best person to ever do it, by the way, was him, where he created that distorted reality, and what he says comes true because that's the vision he has.
His vision was stronger than anybody else's, and it became reality. Becomes reality.
And reality, thus becoming reality.
Right.
Exactly. So that's what Roger Ver has. He believes so much in it, he makes it so. I mean, he goes over and creates a Bitcoin wallet that's really Bitcoin Cash. He calls it. I mean, and everybody, you got to laugh at the guy, but hey, it works.
Yeah, he's smart. He's very smart.
Yes, he is.
Now, what are you guys working on behind the scenes at Smart Options?
Well, I'm more of a trader. My partner is the real brains of running everything with the SEO and placement and everything. He does most of all that. Me, I'm a trader. I trade, but my experience is that if you find the best quality, that's what counts. And what I want to do is I want to open up people and have a good visual understanding. So my next thing to do is to try to visually show people how trades work. That's something you don't see. So if I go to several different trading services, imagine that you can go over and watch me execute trades of those services just to give you a glimpse into how the groups work. I think that would be really, other than that, we have the Autobots. That's the next thing you're going to see in signal services, is that more of the groups are expanding into using automation and the whole category. And you're finding more talented groups of traders this way as well. So the long-term picture for trading groups looks kind of bright. We recently did a Discord post, as you know, and we found a whole bunch of other groups that are good. So we're out really trying to find a talent, and we want to showcase them and put more light, a spotlight on them.
That's great. Well, we all, and by we, I mean everyone in the industry, appreciates you doing that service and
more people than I would have ever expected. People that normally I would never hear of us, hear about us, and I'm really shocked at that, by the way, because it's trading. It's not exactly exciting, but I'm surprised at the number of people I wouldn't expect to know about Smart Options do. But thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, and the rest of the market thanks you as well. And from myself and our listeners, thank you for getting on the pod today. We appreciate that. Where could people go to learn more about you and what you guys got going on?
Well, Bird is the word, and the word is smartoptions.io. Very simply, this is our baby, and we love trading everything crypto related. Right? We're promoting supportly mainly the trading signal providers community, and we want to make it more transparent and higher quality for all traders. I mean, if you can find good signals and services that you can rely on, I think that's a win-win if you want to get into the whole trading and education space, learning how the crypto actually moves.
Very much appreciated, Erik. And do you have any last words for our listeners here?
I wish I knew more about your listeners. I have to watch the podcast to actually learn more about you, Dan. I'm not one. I'm so busy doing everything, but I do appreciate you taking the time. And I think the whole podcast thing, which is something I think might be growing, is very interesting because I keep getting hit. People keep asking me about them. which I think is interesting. But I have to learn more about it. But I do thank you for taking the time to discuss, my thinking and whatnot. I always like to run my mouth, so this is pretty cool.
Well, we enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it very much. And thank you again for hopping on the show. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, Dan. Have a great day.